how I make this verify OTP screen in React Native. So let's code this screen together. I am in my cursor IDE and I'm using Expo. So now I will run my app in iOS simulator. I will type npm run iOS and this will open my app in simulator. So this is the default Expo app. I don't need this. So I will reset the project and I will open my new terminal. So I will simply type npm run reset -project. So I don't need an app example folder, so I will type no. I will close my terminal and I will go over here in my index.tsx file. I will quickly rename it to verify OTP, and in my layout I will say screen options, and for this one I don't need any header, so I will say header shown false. In my index.tsx file, first of all I need linear gradient. To make this linear gradient background I need a plugin Expo linear gradient, and I will go over here to install it. I will copy this command and I will paste this command over here, and when this command is installed I will close my terminal. I will import linear gradient from Expo linear gradient, and I will use linear gradient over here. So linear gradient, save it. So inside here now I have to provide colors. Colors should be an array of color strings. So first color I'm going to use is hash 667EEA. The another one is hash 764BA2, and third one is hash F093FB. Save it. I'm going to create my styles. So const styles is equal to, I will use style sheet from React Native and create. Inside here I will create my background gradient, and I will simply pass flex1 over here. Inside my linear gradient I will pass that style equals to styles dot background gradient. Save it. So now I can see my linear gradient background over here. I have to do some more changes over here. So for that I will provide two properties. One is start. So start is basically from where I need my linear gradient to start. So for that I will use x0 and y0. I have to provide both x and y. Same way I need to provide end. So for end, x is 1 and y is 1 as well. Save it. So after this I will move forward. I will create my view container. So view, and I will import that view from React Native. Next I will create style for my view and I will call it container. So styles dot container, and in my styles I will create container object. So for container I need flex as 1, align items as center, justify content as center. I need padding only for horizontal, so I will say 24, and width would be 100%. it should be align items. So now we are going to create this circular image view inside this circular transparent background. Inside my container view, I will create an image container view. So simply create a view and provide style to it. And to this style, I'm going to say image container, and I will create this image container style over here. So image container. So for image container, I need to provide some styling properties. So first I will give width. Width would be 200. Then height would also be 200. And then I will provide border radius as 100 because I want to make this image circular. So for that, border radius should be half of the width. So that's why we are using 100 over here. Next, I will provide background color. So background color I will provide in RGB. So RGBA should be in a string format. So I will simply type RGBA, and then I will use RGBA code for white color. It would be 255, then 255, and then 255. And this A is for the alpha value. So for alpha value I will provide 0.1. And now you can see over here transparent background. Next property I'm going to provide is justify content, and it would be center to keep the image center of this view. Same way I will provide align items as center. Now I will provide margin bottom as 40. Next I will provide border width. Border width would be 1. Border color. Border color is again RGBA value. So for that I will copy this, paste it over here because it's the same value. The only change is alpha value. I'm going from 0.1 to 0.2, and we can see a transparent border over here. At last, I'm going to provide shadow properties. So for that I will provide shadow color. Shadow color would be black. So hash 000 is the hash code for black. Next I will provide shadow offset. Shadow offset would be having two values. So width width would be 0, and then height would be 8. Next I will provide shadow opacity, and shadow opacity would be 0.15. Next I will provide shadow radius. Shadow radius would be 16, and then I will provide elevation, and I will give 8 over here. So there is some error over here, so I will say shadow offset. By providing these properties, our image container is done. Now I will go in my image container and I will provide image over here, and for image I will use image component from React Native, and I will provide source over here. For source I am using a hard-coded link from FreePic, so I will use that over here and save it. I will provide style for my image, so style and then styles dot FreePic image. Now I will create that style in my styles, so FreePic image object. In my FreePic image object I will provide some properties. So let's say first width would be 160, and then height it would be 160 also, and then I will provide border radius, it would be 80 to make it circular. After that, I will provide resize mode as contain over here, and now you can see a shield image over here. Now we can move forward. So next thing in this screen is title and subtext. So first we are going to create this title. So for title, I am going to go out from image container view and I will create a text component. So I will import text from React Native. Inside here, I will provide verify your identity, save it. Now I will provide a style to this. So I will say styles dot heading, and I will create a heading style in my styles. So heading and then create object. I will provide style properties now. So first of all, I will use font size, and font size would be 26 for heading, and then I will use font weight. Font weight would be 700, and then I will use color over here, and I will use white. Let's save it, and then I will use margin bottom 8. After that, I will use text align property, and I will give center over here. Then I will give text a shadow color. So for that I will use text shadow color property, and I will give it RGBA value again, and for this I will use black. So for black it would be 0 0 0, and for alpha I will use 0.2. Save it, and now I will use offset for text shadow. I will give width and height. Width would be 0 and height would be 1 for this. Next I will provide text shadow radius, and it would be 3. So now our heading is done. So let's move to subtext. Simply copy this and paste it over here and change the text to, so what's the text? Check your SMS for the 6-digit code. So let's write this. Check your SMS for the 6-digit code. Save it. We will create a subtext style. So just type subtext. Save it. And in my styles, create subtext and provide properties for subtext. So I think so I can copy this object and just replace the required values. So for this, font size would be 16. I don't need font weight for this. And for color, I'm using F0, F0 and F0. Save it. I will use margin bottom as 32. Text align center, and then I will use text shadow color same as above, and text shadow offset same as above, and text shadow radius would be 2. Save it. So now our heading and subtext is ready, so we can move forward to the next component. So next component is horizontally aligned text inputs. Let's create this. Now under subtext, let's create a new view and give it a style OTP row, styles dot OTP row. Save it, and in my styles I'm going to create this OTP row object. So OTP row object, and provide some properties over here. So first of all I will use flex direction as row because I need the text inputs horizontal. Then I need justify content, and I will use space between, and then I'm going to use align items as center, and finally margin bottom, and margin bottom would be 36. Let's save it. The next thing, inside this OTP row view we are going to create text input. To create that text inputs we need to first create a state over here on the top. So let's first create that state. I will use useState snippet. Let's import it from React, and inside here let's create an array. So array, so we are going to create OTP for 6 digits. I will provide that OTP length here. So const OTP underscore length equal to 6. Let's copy this, paste inside this. So let's make every item as empty string inside that array. Simply change this first to OTP and the function to set OTP. Save it. Now we will go to our OTP row view and simply hit enter. Now using that OTP state we are going to create our text inputs. So first enter the curly braces and say OTP.map, and inside this function let's provide digit and index, and for index we will use IDX, and simply return a text input from React Native. So let's say text input from React Native, close it and save it. Now we are going to provide some props to this text input. So first, as we are using it inside map and we are going to create multiple text inputs, we will provide key first. Key would be IDX, save it. Next property is ref. So we will say ref. Before moving forward, we have to create a ref over here. So for that, I'm going to use ref hook from React, and inside here I'm going to pass an empty array, and I will name it inputs, and I have to provide a type over here. So this would be an array of text inputs. So text input and array, and I will simply use that inputs over here, and I will say inputs dot current to use that ref, and I will provide the index over here and pass the reference. I have to do some minor tweak over here. I have to set text input or null. I have to provide curly braces over here. Save it. The next property I'm going to provide is style. So in style I am going to use styles.otp input, and I will create that OTP input in my styles. So let's save it, and under OTP row I'm going to create that OTP input object, and it will take multiple properties now. So let's go through them one by one. So first it would be width would be 48, height is 56, border radius is 8, save, then border width, it would be 0.5, border color is again RGB value, so I'm going to quickly create that RGBA value, and I will use 255, 255, 255, and alpha would be 0.3. And next I'm going to use background color, and background color is again RGB value, so I will simply copy this, paste it over here, and for this background color it would be 95. Next is margin horizontal, and it is 8, save it. Next I'm going to use text align, center. Next is font size is 26. Next property is color is hash 333. Next is font weight, and font weight is, let's say, 600. And next I'm going to provide shadow properties, and for that I'm going to copy this because they are going to be similar with some minor tweaks. So simply paste these values. So I copied that values from image container and paste it in OTP input, and let's now tweak those values. So first, the shadow color is black, shadow offset is width 0, height 4, shadow opacity is 0.15, shadow radius is 8, and elevation is 4. Save it. Now our OTP input style is ready. And next thing, now provide some more properties to this text input. So the next prop is keyboard type, and for keyboard type I'm going to use number pad because we need only digits over here, and max length for each input is 1. Next is value is nothing but the digit which we are getting from here. Now I'm going to provide two functions. One is on change text, and second is on key press. I need both these functions to handle the input. So inside on change text, I'm going to use the text, and I will create my handle change function. So handle change, and I will provide two parameters, text and index. And same way for on key press, I will create another function. So first I will get event, and I will create my handle key press function, and in that function I will provide event and index. Under inputs, create handle change function, const handle change, and provide text which is a string and index which is a number. The other function is const handle key press, and same way I have to provide event which is e. I can provide any over here, and second is index, and let's say number. So inside handle change function, I will use a regex to check if the text is a digit. So for that I will provide the regex over here, and in that if statement now I will write the code. So inside if statement I will create a copy of OTP. So new OTP would be triple dot OTP. The next thing is inside new OTP I will set the text. New OTP would be equal to text, and I will provide index over here. So now it will save to a specific index. I will set the OTP. OTP I will set new OTP. After that I have to provide another check. If index is less than OTP length minus 1, which means if index is between 0 to 5, then we will handle that condition. Otherwise we will dismiss the keyboard. So keyboard from React Native and dismiss. If the index is between 0 to 5, then we will provide the focus to the next input, and for that I will say inputs. Inputs is the ref we have created dot current. I will provide index, current index plus 1. I will say focus. So now we are using our inputs ref to pass the focus to the next input. So with this our if statement is done. So let's say else if text is equal to empty. I will again create a copy of OTP. So let's say const new OTP equal to triple dot OTP, and I will say new OTP index and empty, and I will set the OTP over here, pass the new OTP. So in this specific scenario we are handling the back press. In my handle key press I will check a condition. So first I will use that event. I will say e dot native event dot key. If that key is equal to backspace, the next condition is if my OTP index is equal to empty, and third condition is if index is greater than 0. So in this case I will shift the focus to the previous input. So inputs dot current index minus 1 and focus. So next thing I'm going to add this shadow like effect on the focused text input. Let me make this style an array. So over here I will pass focused style, and I will call it styles.otp input focused, and I will create that style first in my styles. So under OTP input, let's create that object quickly, and I have to pass some properties over here. So let's say first is border color. Border color would be white, so hash triple F, and then I will have background color. It would be white again, hash triple F. Then I will provide shadow color. Shadow color, it would be white again. Then I will provide shadow offset. So for shadow offset I have to provide width and height. Width would be 0 and height would be 0 again. Next I will provide shadow opacity. It would be 0.4. Then I will provide shadow radius, which is 12, and last one is elevation, which is 8. Now you can see this glowing effect is showing on each text input. To show this glowing effect on focused input, I have to give a condition. So for that, in my styles, I have to pass that condition over here. But before that, I have to create a new state. So I will use state hook. and I will use the snippet over here, and inside here I will pass null, and I will say focused input and set focused input, and over here I will provide a type quickly, so it would be either number or null. Save it. So focused input would be, so in my style I will simply say if focused input is equal to the current index, then show the style. Save it. Now you can see the glowing effect gone for each text input, and it is not showing even on the focus. Now to accomplish that, we have to first say autofocus. So this is a text input property, and over here we can say, like in the beginning, the autofocus would be on first item. Now I will provide other two property. First is on focus. So inside on focus, I will do nothing fancy. I will just change the state for set focused input, and I will pass the index over here, and the another property is on blur, and inside this I will simply set focused input state to null. So if nothing is focused, we will not show any glowing state. If I select any text input, we can see the glowing effect, and we can also check by providing the text. So whichever text input is focused, they are getting the glowing effect. Now move to the next component, which is a button. So let's make that button quickly. I will create the button under my OTP row view, and I will use touchable opacity for this one. So touchable opacity from React Native, and inside here I will use text. So let's say text from React Native, and simply say continue. Save. Before moving forward, I will first provide the style to this button, and I will call it styles.button, and we will create that style quickly. And for text, I will also provide this style, and I will say styles.button text. So let's quickly make these two styles. Let's go to our styles, simply create a button object. So for button, I will use first width. Width is 100%. Then I will use max width. So the maximum width for my button would be 320. Background color RGBA, and it would be 255, 255, 255, and alpha would be 0.2. Save it. Now I will provide padding vertical. Padding vertical would be 16. I will provide border radius to this button. So border radius is 28. Next is align items. Align items would be center to keep the text at center. Next property is margin bottom. Margin bottom is 18. Next is border width. Border width is 1. Next is border color, and border color is same RGBA value. Let's copy this, just tweak 0.2 to 0.3, save it. Now I have to provide some shadow properties, so I can copy those. So we can simply use these properties so that I don't have to write that again, but simply tweak the values as needed. So for button, shadow color is black, shadow offset width is 0, height is 0, opacity is 0.2, shadow radius is 8, and elevation is 5. Save it. Now jump to button text and provide the properties quickly. So color would be hash triple F, font size is 18, font weight is, let's say, bold, and letter spacing we can provide as 1. Save it, and now our button is ready. On this button click, let's say over here in touchable, on press, handle button press. Let's create handle button press. So over here I will create const handle button press. So inside here, let's first get the code from OTP. So let's say code equal to OTP dot join with empty string. So this will give us this 333. So now we can quickly check if code dot length is equal to OTP length, which is 6. So let's say if not equal, then we can simply say alert dot alert, and we can say please provide the OTP, please provide the complete OTP, something like that, and return over here so that it doesn't go ahead. And if everything is good, then simply say alert dot alert OTP, and over here we can simply use that code value. OTP code is submitted successfully. Save it. So now if I hit continue, we can see OTP 333 is submitted successfully. If I delete over here, it will say please provide the complete OTP. Let's move forward. So next I'm going to implement this didn't get the code section. Inside here we will have different states. So one is resend, and second is resend in, and third one is resending state. So let's build that. Now in our code base, under this button, I will create a new view and I will name it resend row. So quickly create a view and give it a style, styles dot resend row, and create this resend row style in styles. For resend row, flex direction would be row, align items would be center, and margin top would be 8. Save it, and next thing I will pass text inside this view for didn't get the code text. So over here I will say didn't get the code. So let's type it, didn't get the code with question mark. Save it and provide the style to this. So styles dot resend info, let's name it resend info. Copy it, go to the styles, create that style and provide the values. So for this I will pass color first, and the color would be F0 F0 F0. Then font size is 15. Then margin right, it would be 6. Then I have to pass the shadow properties for text. So first is text shadow color, and I will use RGBA. So for RGB I will use 0, 0, 0, and alpha would be 0.2. Text shadow offset would be width 0, height 1. So text shadow radius is simply 2. Save it. So next thing, I'm going to implement this recent thing, and for that I'm going to use touchable opacity again. So in my recent row view, under the text, I will use touchable opacity, close it, and I will pass the style over here. Style equal to, I will name it recent container. Let's create this style, recent container object, and I will provide nothing but margin top as 0. And inside this touchable opacity, I will provide the text. So text would be simply, let's first say recent, and provide the style. So style would be styles dot recent text. Let's create this style over here, recent text. So recent text would be having the same properties as recent info and some more properties. So let's copy this from recent info, save it. So for recent text, color would be white, font size would be 16. Then I will have text decoration line, and it would be underline. I don't need margin, but I need font weight, and it would be 600. Save it. And for text shadow properties, I'm going to keep the same values. Save it, and we can see recent button now. Okay, so now we are going to implement the conditions in the text. So first I will create a state is resending. So let's go to the top first and create a state is resending. Let's say use state snippet, and we will use false in the beginning, and we will say is resending and set is resending. Save it. And now inside our touchable opacity, if resending is true, then we are going to change the text to resending. Otherwise we will simply say resend. Save it. After that, let's create an on press function and simply provide that function handle resend. Now let's create that function over here under handle button press. So let's say const handle resend, and inside here now we have to write the logic. So before writing anything over here, let's first create a state for timer and handle the timer logic. So let's create the state first. Let's say use state snippet and provide the timer. So for timer I will give a constant over here, and I will say resend underscore time, and it would be 30, and this time is in seconds, so just put a comment if you want. Let's pass this recent time over here, and let's say timer and set timer, save it. Let's handle the timer logic now, and for that let's use effect hook, and inside here pass timer as dependency. Now inside here we are going to pass a statement if timer is greater than 0. So I'm going to use set interval, and inside interval I will provide a function and the interval, which is 1 second, and for function I will say set timer. I will use the previous state and I will say t minus 1, and in here I will say, let's say const interval equal to, and I'm going to return over here, and in the return I'm going to clear the interval by passing the interval we have created above. So this will handle the timer logic. Now based on that we can write our handle resend logic. So in handle resend we can say if timer is greater than 0, oh sorry, if timer is equal to 0, then first we are going to set is resending state. So let's say set is resending is true, and over here we are going to mimic the API call. Let's use set timeout, and in timeout let's provide 1 second, which is 100 millisecond, and inside set timeout function first let's say set is resending false, and then set timer to 30 second, and for that we can use the constant, which is resend time, and after that we can create an alert, and inside the alert we can provide title and message. The title would be OTP resent, and we can also provide a message, a new OTP has been sent to your number. A new OTP has been sent to your number. Save it. So in this code we just mimic the API call. So we set is resending to true, and after 1 second we change it to false, and we set the timer and we set the alert message. So before moving forward I will do some changes to show the timer in the text. So inside this ternary operator I will say if timer is greater than 0, then we will show resend in and then timer s, otherwise we can show resend. Save it. Let's reload our page, and now you can see the timer over here. So resend in 20 seconds. One more thing we can do, we can disable this button in two conditions. If timer is greater than 0 or is resending. So now let's click this resend button, and it changed to resending, and then OTP resent, a new OTP has been sent to your number, and the countdown timer begins. So now our screen is completed. If you have any questions, please ask in the comment section. Please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.